So, firstly, thank you everyone for coming to the webinar this morning. We've had a few come through this week, and I see a few of you have been attending all of them, which is wonderful. I hope I don't repeat myself too much in this particular session, but in this, our third webinar, we're just giving the opportunity for all of our exhibitors and UK companies to have a moment with our stand contractor, which we've got a new stand contractor this year, and also our freight forwarder, who is DJG, and we use across all of our events. So it's a unique opportunity here. It's obviously not something that we've done before, but the aim is just to better prepare everyone for what happens when you get on site, what to expect, and how best to do it. So, as I mentioned this morning in the other webinar, following the event from last year, we walked away and listened to the feedback that we had, and also looked at how could we make the show better, how can we add more value to all of you for your support and involvement in the UK pavilion that we run. And we looked at the pavilion itself, and looked at the other country pavilions in Hall 16, and looked at how could we possibly elevate our overall brand and appearance, and that's from UK as a whole UK pavilion as opposed to ABHI. So we also looked at Arab Health, which, as you know, is our flagship event, and we looked at how the branding was approached at that show. So we decided that the best thing to do was to bring that more elevated branding to MEDICA. But first of all, that has to start with a really good contractor that you can trust and who can deliver on the quality that, frankly, as ABHI come to expect to deliver at these shows. So we've appointed the Big Picture company to build the stand at MEDICA. I'm delighted to say I've actually started getting photographs this morning of the whole pavilion and how it looks, and it looks really fantastic. I can't wait to get out there. So to mention, I am flying out on Friday, and I'll be there for when you all have access, which is on Sunday at 12 o'clock. All exhibitors have access to the pavilion to come along and check your stand and make sure that everything is set up correctly, or if there's any last minute requirements, how do you go about fixing those? Now, in terms of how to check your stand, there's things to look out for. It's not necessarily just a case of come along and is there a stand stood there for you. It's what are the typical things to watch out for. So I'm now going to hand over to Sarah from the Big Picture company, who is our stand builder, and we'll run through those level of details of how they're delivering the build at the show.
Thank you, Michelle. Hi, yes, I'm Sarah. I'm from the Big Picture, and I see lots of names I recognise on here today. So I know I've spoken to many of you already. As some of you already know, I'm one of the project managers at the Big Picture, and I am most definitely here to help you with your stand build queries, and obviously break down and what to do during the show if you have any issues. Some of you will also have spoken to Paul over the last few weeks, and he really is the driving force behind the Big Picture, and I'm super happy to say that I've been working with him now for just over 15 years. So I think it's pretty safe to say that that we work quite well together, and we actually enjoy working together, most importantly. A little bit of background to the Big Picture in case any of you don't know. We are a global exhibition design company and contractors, and we work within the UK, within Europe, and in the UAE. Specifically within the healthcare industry, we have been working for the past 25 years. So we have a huge wealth of experience designing and managing exhibition programs and collateral for some brilliant leading clients for healthcare devices. So it means we understand the products, the people, the culture, the marketplace. So it means that we can deliver an exhibition stand that works for you. So we also work with sustainable, reusable, and the most cost-effective solutions as well. So that's a little bit about us in a nutshell. And Paul and I are super happy to be meeting you all on Sunday for the handover of your stands, and the actual build will be complete by the end of the day on Saturday, So when you arrive on Sunday, we will be in the position to hand you your stands. And just to reiterate what Michelle said, from midday, you'll be able to come into the exhibition hall, and you don't need a badge, so you can come and go freely. As Michelle also said, it's a new and improved design for this year. You've got your raised floor, you've got your lockable cupboards, and it's a custom build finish. And now I know that some of you will be more familiar with the shell scheme approach with the metal poles and the 1 meter panels that you've had in the past. But this year it's going to be the custom build finish with the white walls, which lends itself to a higher quality finish. And we think it looks brilliant. So I hope you do too. Coming back to the stand handover on the Sunday. We say the Sunday because it means that if you have any issues at all, if you need to make any tweaks, if there's something not quite right, if the extras are not there that you've ordered, it gives us a chance to sort it out. We have the team on site who can do any works that they need to. It really does need to be Sunday if possible. Monday is too late, just because if it's Monday morning, we don't have a workforce on site and it would have to wait till the end of the day on Monday. So we really don't want you to go through a whole day not being super happy with your stand. So it just means that, you know, it gives us a chance on Sunday to make any changes at all. Okay. So as Michelle said, also, just to reiterate, when you arrive, have a good look around your stand. You know, check your name board. I mean, everything should be all spelled correctly, but you never know. Just to be on the safe side, check your name board. Make sure that all your extras are there that you have ordered, and it's as you need it to be. And your plug sockets are in the right place. And for those of you that have ordered a TV and are bringing your video on a USB, please do check that works as well. Okay, that's really important. So I know some of you have already sent me your videos, and whilst we can test those, that's great. We won't be bringing them along on site on a USB, so you will need to bring that with you. Wi-Fi. If any of you have ordered Wi-Fi connections, then I will be able to hand out the vouchers to you as well on site, and then we can make sure that's all up and running for when you start on the Monday. The next thing I was just going to say is during the show, if you have any issues, something breaks, you've got a question about anything to do with the stand build, then drop me a message. Probably the best thing to do would be to drop me a WhatsApp. I think you've all got my mobile number, but again, I can give that out to you, and then instantly I can get somebody on the case or put a plan in place to sort that out. The best thing to do will also be to keep Michelle in the loop on that one. The last thing I'll talk about for the show, at the end of the show, we'll just need to make sure that you have packed anything up that you're taking with you. You've packed anything up that you need shipping, so it's all labelled correctly as well. So that's equipment or product. I'm guessing you'll take a lot of paperwork with you. And we just need to make sure that you let the shipping agent know that it's ready for collection. And also, I guess, keep Michelle in the loop again on that one. And if you could make sure all your cupboards are left open and locked as well, then we can just also easily see that nothing's been left behind. I don't know if Michelle had anything to add for the end of the show. Paul will be on site for the close of the show. So if you do have any questions, he'll be able to speak with you directly there, so it shouldn't be an issue. Michelle, do you have anything to add about end of show on that one?
Again, forgive me for repeating any information from this morning's webinar, but for those that you weren't part of that, just to reiterate, when leaving your stand on the last day, it is really tempting to go early because the footfall is less, but just to draw home that some visitors do specifically attend on the last day because it is quieter and therefore they get more time with exhibitors. And I've seen some of the biggest sales come through about half an hour before the show doors shut. And people have specifically said, you know, I'm here and look at all these exhibitors breaking down whilst there's still visitors on the shop floor. So if it's a case that you've got a team of people coming with you, perhaps a few of you can go, but just leave one person on the stand, that is something I would recommend. But then the other aspect of this is that Messe Dusseldorf do go around and do look at stands to see which ones have been vacated, and they will take photos and they will fine. I know last year was different because of COVID and people were having problems with flying back, so they were more lenient. But I would expect them to reinforce those rules with gusto this year. If you have to leave, if there's a problem with you leaving, please let me know and I'll try and help out where I can, maybe be on the stand and show a face. Or if you're having problems arriving at the show, let me know and I can take photos of your stand and I can message them over to you and you can check over visually of what things are, and I can work with Sarah to be able to help with that. Sarah, did you have something you wanted to just?
I was just going to reiterate also, if the stand is left unmanned, then there is every possibility that things can go missing from the stand. Yeah, so there's a security issue there as well, and you've just got to make sure that that doesn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of other things to watch out for, I think we've kind of covered a lot, but it was really good advice there, Sarah, about the TV screens and checking them if there's anything to not work. It's always the TVs and finding the right remote control to go with the right TV.
Yeah.
So testing everything out on the Sunday when you arrive is really important. But again, if you can't, and I know it's really tempting if you've got a pod to come along on the Monday, but again, things are pretty busy on the Monday when the show is opening, and there's a lot of meetings already arranged. So again, it's the sort of time that things can't be actioned. So anything that you need sorting out is great to do on the Sunday. There are we have DIT with us. For those that aren't aware, we've got DIT with us on our stand this year, which means we've got a lot of meetings taking place on our stand. We've got a semi-private meeting room on our stand, which you as the exhibitors are able to use if you would like to. If you'd like to book out a particular time slot, let me know. Or alternatively, if in that moment you require an area to have a meeting and you can see it's free, come over and speak to either myself, Lottie or Jonathan, and we'll book that out for you. So on the ABHI side of our stand, you've got, as I said, just to familiarise yourself with the personnel, we've got myself, we've got Lottie McMahon, who some of you may have already spoken to. She'll be taking care of the presentations on the stand, which is a new launch for the show this year. And I've got Jonathan Evans, who is our communications associate director. And he'll be going around and he'll be doing the PR and the press element for the show. So there's lots happening. I've just seen that Tim has joined us. Tim, that's absolutely perfect timing, and thank you. We have just gone through the requirements in terms of stand build and breakdown, but I know that there are some elements here that commonly whenever I'm on site, I get asked, what time is the freight forwarder going to be arriving, or when they've arrived at build up there should be another box, or how do I do this and how do I do that? So rather than having all those questions that everybody has at the show, it'd be great to get a few minutes, Tim, of you just running through the normal procedures that you've done time and time again at these shows, and just let everyone know how it all works.
Okay, you want me to start now?
Yes, please. That'd be great.
Okay, fine. That's great. Okay, so we're expecting to be loading our trailer in about 15 minutes. That's the good news. I'm just going to wait for that to arrive. So essentially what's going to happen is that's going to head off today and will arrive. We're sending it a tiny bit early, so it should arrive, we hope, on site on Friday morning about 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I will be following it out in the van tomorrow with a colleague. We will be then unloading the truck and beginning to get things delivered on Friday to stands, or as near as we can get them as usual. But of course we're also going to be around on Saturday and Sunday, and we'll make sure that we come and see everybody that we'll keep an eye on everyone's freight as best we can, because things do get moved around by the stand fitters and when they lay the carpets and all this nonsense. So you do your best, but you can't always keep it tidy. And I'll come round with labels for anyone wants to store any empties. That's something we need to talk about, and we'll sort all that out. And that's basically the move in. So and then I'll be coming back to the UK in between for a day or so, coming back again on Wednesday. So we'll be on site on Thursday taking disposal instructions and bringing labels around for the returns to everybody. And then we reload the trailer again on Friday. And then it gets back to us here in our warehouse, we hope, on the Monday following that, on the 21st. But we'll email everybody once it's back to let you know it's here, and you know, and then ask you for your further instructions. So that's it really. It's pretty straightforward. It is new for me, but I've just been had quite a long conversation just now with my colleague who's done that show many times. So he's just been giving me the sort of technical details about where to go, and I think the best thing to do is probably download that app. There's a MEDICA app, I believe.
There is.
Quite a useful
That almost
thing.
sounded like a plug there, Tim. Thank you.
Yes, that was it. Yes, yeah. So, but I mean, we're working not just with ABHI. So we are going to be in different halls, but mainly with ABHI in hall 16, and the other guy with me will be in hall 1 and doing other stuff. And we've got 1 or 2 other clients around. So, but Michelle will have my mobile number, and I've got WhatsApp on it. So if anyone, if anyone needs to get in touch, that's fine.
Perfect. And in terms of, I'm foreseeing common questions here in regards to what time will you leave on build up? So what time is it by the time
we will leave? Well, I won't be leaving the site. We're going back. I'm going to drive back on the Monday, the first day of the show, because there's no reason for us to be there. Our job on Sunday will be to make sure everyone's empties are taken away and accounted for properly. So once that's all done, at that point, the organisers of the venue, people who control the venue, will insist that everything's cleared away anyway by a certain time. And so at that point, our job is really essentially finished. Because I've needed back here, I'm going to drive back on Monday, have a day in the office, dear God, and then drive back again on Wednesday to reverse everything. So that's the plan. We're not going to be staying actually in Germany. We're going to just stay over the border in Venlo in the Netherlands because it's a lot cheaper. So that's but we're not that far away, but obviously we'll be around all day.
Perfect. So I mean, when we spoke the other day, I think you had some really good wisdom of sort of common questions that or advice that you have for people, and I think one of them is when you're breaking down the boxes on build up, don't chuck those boxes away, because
Absolutely.
You're going to need them for when you leave and come back.
Absolutely.
And find a way to try and store them. Just something to comment in terms of our stand. We've got a very small storage cupboard, unfortunately, so it's pretty much going to be filled up with drinks for the drinks reception on Tuesday. So there's not going to be a lot of room for boxes and storing other items. And I always feel the disappointment in people's faces when I literally open the cupboard door and show them the space that's available. It is tricky, but if you flat pack it all down and find a way to be able to store it, then you're going to need that for coming back again. Another question I often get is, what time are you arriving on site for breakdown? Because this is commonly, as I was saying earlier, commonly when people are wanting to go home and they need to see you to be able to book in a return delivery, which wasn't scheduled before, or complete one that they've already arranged with you.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. We'll be there from 9 o'clock in the morning, should we say, before the show starts, probably on the last day of the show. And indeed, it may be even possible to do some of the return paperwork during the build-up. with some people if they're absolutely sure that they know what they're doing. But really, with this exhibition, everything's on a temporary import basis. So it all has to come back anyway. Essentially, that's how it works. But we also it's going to be a bit of a scramble. But you know, I'm used to doing this, running around with papers and
Not a problem.
filling out labels and so forth, you know, but we'll be there as late as necessary. But people do need to be aware, obviously, if they have got official empty case storage, that whilst we will do our best to try and assist
Whenever.
getting that back, it will be back when it's back, and we're not entirely in control of that. We will do what we can, but if for some reason we can't get access to some of the things, maybe because they've been put behind a lot of other people's empty cases, then people just have to wait.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely. I mean, one of the value adds that you offer that I don't think a lot of exhibitors know about is the fact that you can store some of their items at your warehouse. So where we've got Arab Health in January, and it is possible for you to ship it from MEDICA, ready to take it over to Dubai for their event in.
Yes, some people do that. They will, you know, a lot of people want their stuff back to do something to it in between, but certainly we are receiving for Arab Health sea freight. We've extended it now to the 24th of November, and that's the last date that we'd like everything here in our warehouse for sea freight. There'll be a later air freight service, and we'll be closing for that probably around about the 12th or 13th of January.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
But it's looking better than last year in terms of the sailing. So
I'm really pleased to hear that. That's for sure. You mentioned something the other day I thought was really good. You can't sell any items off your stand. You're talking about shipping back.
no,
and I think
because it's going in as a well, if you want to say a lot of German cities now, and Dusseldorf hasn't quite. It's very strange. I think it must be because of the federal nature of Germany. But for example, in Frankfurt, if we were doing this, we would have had to have had an invoice from everybody with a European ERI number on it. Now, if you haven't got a European one, I don't mean a GB one, a European, you're only allowed to have one European number because that covers you for all 27 states. That's the theory. You need to apply for one, and everyone's going to have to do this going forward. But Dusseldorf at the moment are still working a little bit under the old system, where they allow us not to have to do that. But because you haven't got a German ERI number or a European ERI number, it can only go in as a temporary import, which means it therefore has to go back. I'm not saying if somebody was really desperate to sell, we couldn't convert it, but it does cause a problem with the paperwork, and there are a lot of extra charges. So we have been saying, we were told that, you know, it's really everything that's shipped has got to go back. Obviously, apart from your consumables and giveaways and things like that. So, you know, but I mean, it really depends on whether customs come round and have a look. Essentially, we hope they won't, and they generally don't. So with a big show like this, so we should be all right. You know, we have to be not too rigid about these things.
Okay. And in terms of breaking down or packing up people's stands, from my understanding, you said it's for people to put everything into boxes, but make sure there's a label on the boxes. Otherwise, there is a high chance that the venue could throw boxes without labels away.
Yeah, first of all, with the empties, if we think about the build-up, we'll come around with empty case storage. For those that want official empty case storage and aren't going to flat pack or hide their stuff on their stand, you need to make sure, first of all, that you don't put the empty case labels that we are going to give you on too soon, because that happened at a recent exhibition and someone's freight got taken away with the freight still in it to the storage area, and we had to get it back. It wasn't a disaster. It was simpler to solve, but it, you know, and at the end of it, when obviously you don't want anything that's left unmarked in the aisles basically is treated as rubbish and will go in the skip. So things have to be properly labelled and properly labelled at the appropriate time. You don't walk away and leave them. And if there's any doubt, just give us a call.
I can just add to that as well. Obviously, with the stand breakdown, We are going to have to move some boxes if they are left in the middle of the stand, or, you know, obviously we'd just want to reassure you that we would make sure the boxes are clearly ready for pickup. So just to reassure you on that point as well.
Yeah, our plan for that would be we're going to probably try and consolidate all of the empty box, all of the repacked boxes at the end into one of the bigger stand areas once it's empty, so that we know that we've got all the stuff in one place. That's our plan, and that's what Peter was telling me just now, a few minutes ago actually. That's what they've done in the past. So, you know, we just keep a constant eye on it, because theft is an issue, I think, particularly at the German messes. Of course, nobody's going to know what's in any of these things. And of course, when things are left unattended on the stands, you know, I'm afraid they are left at everyone's own risk. You know, we can't keep an eye on, obviously, constant vigilance on it.
No, and I think it's also important that sometimes companies can leave boxes of literature on the stand, which they want to throw away. But if it doesn't have a label on it, we need to be able to clearly identify what's to be thrown away and what's to be shipped and sent back. And I suppose no label box means throw away. So
well, that's right. I mean, I would normally go around with a disposal form and say to the person, you know, what are you going to send back? If you're not completely sure, I'll try and come back again later and then give you the correct number of labels, so we know exactly how many pieces we're collecting. And if we're collecting 5 pieces and there's 6 there, we're just going to take the 5, and the 6th will be regarded as rubbish. You can generally tell pretty easily.
So one of the questions I often get is it possible for exhibitors to take their graphics back? And I'm wondering, is this a fabric graphic? Is it possible to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. With the fabric graphics, they are 100% reusable. So that's absolutely fine. If there is an issue with taking them back, for instance, then we could possibly look at a storage solution for that. But yeah, speak to us about that if that's something that you're interested in. But with the vinyl graphics, obviously they are not reusable. So just the fabric ones we're talking about.
Perfect, good. Obviously, we will have a sustainability agenda and all trying to work towards it. So it's good to know what we can do without realising it's something that is possible, really. I think we've covered quite a lot in terms of things that I am familiar with in terms of normal questions that are asked. But I think that's sort of trying to work out exactly what happens when we arrive and how do we get home is the kind of typical items on the agenda. However, I don't wish to be talking about returning before we've even arrived yet. But yes, so I think as a summary, arrival on Sunday. Really looking forward to seeing you all. I would just also like to jump in and say that as a reminder, we've got the drinks reception on the evening of Tuesday at 5:30. Love to see you all there. Use that opportunity to invite clients who are coming to your stand to have a more informal conversation with you and a warmer relationship. And then also we've got the exhibitor meal out on the Monday. This is us going out for a meal together, nothing sort of prearranged and organised, just a meal out for us to show thanks and appreciation for your support through the year. So in terms of that, did anyone have any questions? I know that this is a different type of webinar to what we've seen this week or before, but hopefully you've received the information that just makes you feel a little bit more sort of prepared before you arrive. And you know what's happening, and most importantly, you know the faces also. I'm sure many of you have seen Tim before, but perhaps not at MEDICA. And not all of you would have met Sarah, but I'm sure you've spoken to her lots and lots. And it's good to have a good relationship with contractors, and we work really hard to make sure that our exhibitors are happy, but also our contractors are too, because it's a working relationship that means that we get to deliver the kind of events that we have in the past. So thank you everyone for your time today. Sarah, Tim, was there anything you wanted to add?
I was just going to add one thing. We will be at MEDICA again next year, working with Michelle. So obviously, if there's anything you want to talk to us about when you see us, by all means do. And obviously we'll be working with sort of, the August deadlines again, and just to make sure that we've got communication in there and we can get everything sorted on time, just to help everything run smoothly. We've got this great opportunity to have a little bit of feedback between each other, and just to see how we can improve for next year.
Absolutely, yeah, good point. We will be doing a post-event survey after the event, just to get feedback from everyone to see, are there any areas that we can improve, and are there any areas that we excelled at as well. And that's not just ABHI, that's our contractors, that's the show, and that's generally absolutely everything, because it's really important to get your feedback. And yes, we will be doing rebook on site, which is a common thing that we do now. So as Sarah said, time and time again, I get told people would like a corner stand. There's only a few of them, and every exhibitor wants a corner. So if that's something that's very important to you, then please come over and find me on the stand. And if we can get your paperwork done as quickly as possible, then I can try and facilitate that for you. So yeah, thanks, Sarah. Thanks for reminding me about next year. I'd almost forgotten.
Let's get this one done, and then next year.
Yeah, kind of got time for that.
Yeah.
But thank you everyone for your time, and just to remind you all, there's another webinar tomorrow morning. This is the last one, and this is where we have an external trainer who is an author and a well-renowned trainer for specifically events. I've known him for a number of years and seen his work with other exhibitors in terms of getting into the psychology of the visitor, which I think right now is a really, really important aspect, where visitors at shows has changed since COVID, and also whilst we're being challenged by the financial environment that we're in at the moment across the world. It's a very unique webinar tomorrow morning, and I know that you'll all gain a lot from it. So hopefully you're able to make it. But again, thank you everyone, and take care and speak to you soon. Oh, just need to unmute yourself, Tim. You just muted. Mute. If you right click on the mute button, top
That's it,
right-hand
I've got it.
corner.
Can you hear me now? Yeah, I was just
Yep,
going to
we
say
can
the
hear you.
trailer has just arrived and it's being loaded now. I can see it on the camera, so
Perfect.
just to set everyone. Okay.
Thank you. Cheers.
Very good.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.